We are following breaking news right now. We have learned that country music icon Loretta Lynn has died.
Loretta Lynn kept a secret about Johnny Cash for nearly half a century. Before her death, she broke that silence with a brief statement that shook the image that the public once believed was perfect. It was neither a scandal nor a confession. It was just a memory Loretta had promised she would carry with her for the rest of her life. But at the last moment, she chose to speak it.
Can you believe it?
No, I can't believe it. I can't believe it at all.
What Loretta revealed was not recorded in any memoir. It was kept for the right time. And that was the moment when the name Johnny Cash seemed to have settled in legend. In 2021, Loretta Lynn returned to Cash Cabin Studios in Hendersonville, Tennessee, to record a new version of Coal Miner's Daughter. Not only was it the final recording of her career, but it was also the moment when something unusual happened. In the middle of a recitation, Loretta abruptly turned to the engineer and said clearly that she had just seen Johnny Cash walk through the hallway door. No one else in the room saw anything. The atmosphere was tense, but Loretta did not panic. She sat still, looked at the wood paneling, and said, "He's still here." Soon after, she ordered everyone to stop and unplug their equipment, in private, with only a few close friends watching. Loretta began to talk about Johnny in a way she had never spoken publicly before. She told of a 3-hour conversation they had had on a tour bus, years ago, in the late 1970s. There was no one else in the bus at the time. Johnny told Loretta about something he felt guilty about, a choice in his life that he could not undo. Loretta did not go into detail, but she said, "I understand why he never told June or anyone else in the family. It was a part of Johnny that only those who had gone through similar dark places could recognize and keep hidden." Adding to the severity of the incident was Loretta's explicit statement, "I don't think he just showed up to see me sing that song again. He wanted me to repeat what we had kept quiet." There is no official transcript of the conversation, but a close friend who was present confirmed that Loretta said it all with a calm expression, as if she had mentally prepared herself in advance. From the 1960s until Johnny's death in 2003, they met regularly at music events, award ceremonies, and memorials. But Loretta never revealed any of their private matters. The choice of Cash Cabin, the space associated with Johnny and June, to record the final part of Coal Miner's Daughter was no coincidence. According to the production team, it was Loretta who suggested recording there, even though her health at the time did not allow her to travel far. No one knew why she insisted on doing so. Only after that recording did people understand more. Loretta repeated the quote over and over again during the final recording session. "It's not because I owe him anything, it's because he told me. If it's time to say something, say it." After Loretta's death, several members of the production team shared this quote, but declined to provide specifics about what Johnny had revealed. Nonetheless, Loretta herself said in a private interview in 2022, "I'm not going to say what it was. I just want people to know that Johnny Cash wasn't the person the public saw him as. But deep down, he knew what was right." In the absence of any public scandal between the two, Loretta's assertion that Johnny was not who people thought he was adds a layer of thought to those who thought they knew enough about both men. When a great artist holds something back his entire life and only speaks out at the end, it becomes impossible to ignore. What Loretta Lynn recounts at Cash Cabin is not a story to be told for the sake of sensation. It is a true, timely, and powerful snapshot of Johnny Cash beyond the legend. Loretta Lynn and Johnny Cash are two names that are inseparable from the history of modern country music. Both were born into difficult circumstances, working-class upbringings, and lived in a musical culture that was deeply rooted in the American South. When they first met in the late 1950s, Loretta was still a struggling singer, while Johnny was coming off the back of huge success with songs like I Walk the Line and Folsom Prison Blues.
When I hear that whistle blowing, I hang my head and cry.
In the 1960s, they frequently appeared together at major events in the country music community, such as the Grand Ole Opry, national television, and especially the tapings of the Johnny Cash Show, where Johnny was the host and Loretta was a regular guest. Each time Loretta appeared on this show, it was special, not just an artist coming to perform, but someone Johnny had chosen to accompany him on the most important segments. There were many talented artists in that era, but few were invited back by Johnny as many times as Loretta. This was not due to social connections. Johnny Cash was notoriously picky about who he would work with, live on national television. Of Loretta, he once told his team privately, "She sings exactly what she lives." That's rare. It was this artistic respect that gave the two a bond that went beyond that of mere colleagues. In her memoir, Coal Miner's Daughter, 1976, Loretta mentioned Johnny sparingly, but when she did, she was selective. She described him as quiet, unpredictable, but never untrue. Later, in Still Woman Enough, 2002, she devoted a short passage to the way Johnny would quietly observe behind the scenes, then suddenly offer a piece of profound advice, such as, "Don't let them teach you how to sing. Let them learn how to listen to you." As for Johnny, in a 1995 interview with the Tennessean, he claimed that Loretta was one of the people who kept the original soul of country longer than anyone. He also made it clear when Loretta writes a song, she's not looking for a hit, she's writing to survive. This is a comment that few people get from Johnny, who is known for being cold to the press and reserved when evaluating his peers. The connection between them is not in the number of songs they have shared or the number of times they have appeared on television together. What makes people in the industry appreciate this relationship is the feeling of absolute trust between two individuals who are used to living independently, not relying on each other to survive in the profession, but always giving each other a fixed position in their own frame of reference. Every time Loretta appears in Johnny's presence, people always see the harmony in their eyes, the way they talk, and the way they share each stage. As the country music industry has changed over the years, few artists have ever truly earned the respect of their contemporaries. Loretta Lynn and Johnny Cash were two of those artists, and a bond was forged between them, not through words, but through actions. It was the foundation that made what Loretta said later not seem like an oddity, but a piece of the puzzle that had existed for so long. Sound in the dark. Not everything that happened between Loretta Lynn and Johnny Cash made it to the records or to television. Some of it happened behind closed doors, behind the doors of tour buses, or in the quiet moments between two people who didn't need much talking to understand each other. From the late 60s to the mid-70s, when Johnny was in a drug and mental health crisis, Loretta kept in touch with him, but at a distance, she didn't defend him, nor did she get involved in the debates about Johnny's personal life. She watched from afar, choosing to step in when she felt it was necessary. Johnny spent time touring with other artists, with Loretta being one of the few women invited to perform at important stops. During one tour in Texas, Johnny called Loretta into his dressing room after a show, just to tell her that he wasn't sure how much longer he could stay on stage. Loretta didn't respond with words of comfort. She just listened. And because of that silence, Johnny began to talk more. According to Loretta, Johnny described feeling out of control as walking backwards in the dark and having to sing in the light. Several people in the business had seen Johnny come backstage to Loretta's set, just to wait for her to finish and shake her hand as she left. No one understood why. Johnny had never done that with many other artists. In the internal notes of a Nashville TV show, there was a simple caption: Cash requested Lynn present on day 2 taping. No explanation. Not for stage effect, but for a presence that made Johnny feel more settled. Another time, Loretta said, Johnny confided in her that he felt guilty about a decision that had long-term effects on a family member. Loretta declined to go into detail, but she said he had not been able to forgive himself. Such conversations were infrequent, but deep enough to leave a mark. In later interviews, Loretta never recalled the specifics, saying only, "He knew I never put those things in the papers." When Loretta began writing her memoir, Still Woman Enough, she was advised to include more personal details to add depth, but she deliberately omitted anything related to her private conversations with Johnny. According to her book editor, Loretta made it clear, "I don't need that story to sell books. I need to keep it in the right place." This view went against the grain of behind-the-scenes revelations at the time, but Loretta stuck to her guns. One topic that has been discussed frequently by country artists is the relationship between Loretta and June Carter Cash, Johnny's wife. There has been talk of a quiet irritation on June's part with Loretta's frequent appearances on television with Johnny. Nevertheless, in any official statements, Loretta has been respectful of June, calling her the woman who kept Johnny grounded. This suggests that if there was tension, Loretta did not help it persist. For the audience, the times Loretta and Johnny appeared together were always special. No explanation was needed. No official announcement was needed. The chemistry, the eye contact, the way they shared the microphone. The details were enough for those in the profession to recognize a type of connection that went beyond colleagues. No one asked. No one forced them to reveal anything. But everyone saw the difference every time they appeared at the same event. In the years since Johnny's death, Loretta has said little about him. She declined multiple requests to share her memories on memorial television programs. She sent a brief message, "I will remember how he kept his mouth shut when he had to, and spoke only when he had to." This was the only time Loretta spoke publicly about a personal trait of Johnny's in such a succinct way. This prolonged silence only underscores the weight of what she said at Cash Cabin. If for decades Loretta had not used Johnny's name to advance her own identity, then when she chose to reveal a part of that memory, it was understood that it was not a spontaneous, media strategic choice. It was a deliberate choice, with a reason and with a time. Between two souls, Loretta Lynn and Johnny Cash were not a couple in the eyes of the media, nor were they partners in the commercial sense. Their relationship existed in a unique form, hard to name but easy to feel every time the two stood close together on stage. Those who worked with both said that when Loretta and Johnny appeared together, the space around them almost changed. No need for intimate interaction. No need for special expressions. Just by being present, they created a special form of gravity, drawing attention to every look, every word. They shared something that not all artists are qualified to understand: the feeling of being stuck between the applause and the emptiness inside. Johnny once said in a short interview, "Fame is a loud room, but then there comes a time when you're sitting alone in silence." Loretta also said that only those who have stood in front of a giant stage can understand the loneliest feeling after the lights go down. It was this experience that made them connect with each other, a kind of understanding that comes from having gone through exhaustion, from having tried to struggle to survive the public's expectations. Neither Johnny nor Loretta were perfect. They didn't have to be good people by the moral definition of society to be icons. What made them special was their ability to remain true to themselves, no matter what circumstances threw them. They didn't need to tell their stories through scandal or create false images. Music was a powerful enough medium to tell it all. And so, when Loretta chose to remain silent for many years, it wasn't a way to avoid it, but a way to preserve the value of the relationship she valued. That bond didn't happen frequently or in extended tours together. Instead, it was in the backstage support, the short, anonymous phone calls, the timely mention of each other's names, or the unsolicited defense of each other in the media. Those who worked closely with Loretta say she always responded gently to Johnny's mention, never dismissing what he had been through, but also not sugarcoating it. She saw Johnny as a person, not an icon. There was no public declaration of love between them, no special declaration of friendship. But many young artists, watching Loretta and Johnny work, recognized a kind of connection that few other artistic couples in the industry had. Trust that needed no contract. Empathy that needed no explanation. When Johnny sank into his darkest moments, Loretta did not appear to save him, nor did she appear to distance herself. She kept the distance he needed, close enough to feel, far enough away to not intrude too deeply. Backstage at the CMA Awards in the early 1980s, Johnny happened to walk past Loretta as she was getting ready to go on stage. He stopped and said, "Don't sing like they want you to." Loretta didn't respond, just nodded. For her, it was a phrase that carried more weight than any motivational speech. Words like that, from the right person at the right time, can change the way an artist lives. Loretta later recalled the quote in an interview, a principle she carried with her throughout her career. After Johnny died in 2003, Loretta did not appear much at memorial events, but when she did mention him, she did not avoid or overpraise him. She spoke as she saw fit. In a 2005 conversation, Loretta frankly commented, "Johnny had things that other people could not stand. But when he got on the microphone, everything was right." That was the clearest expression of true respect. Not blind, not evasive, but coming from a deep understanding of the person's nature. The relationship between Loretta and Johnny has endured for decades because it has not been based on formality, not on publicity, not on contracts, not on business necessity. It has been built and sustained by a sense of knowing who is real and who remains the same as everything around them changes. It is the foundation that has given Loretta enough strength to keep quiet, and enough reason to finally say the one thing only she knows when to say it: heritage and unspoken words. When Loretta Lynn died on October 4, 2022, headlines were filled with her as the last great figure of country music's golden age. Much of what was written about her was true. Her journey from coal miner to cultural icon, her songs that stayed true to her roots, her resilience in the face of gender stereotypes. But less often mentioned was Loretta's role as a keeper of memories, the fragments of a generation of artists who helped shape an entire genre, including Johnny Cash. Not everyone has the patience to keep a story for half a century. Loretta chose to keep Johnny's story until she felt the time was right. Not for attention, not for public pressure, but simply because of an old admonition. If it's time to tell, then tell. When Loretta told that story at Cash Cabin, she didn't mention specifics, nor did she draw a conclusion. She simply described her feeling that Johnny wasn't the image people remembered, but he wasn't a traitor either. He was someone who knew what his dark side was and accepted it. Loretta left no specific documentation or recordings of her final revelation. What remains are brief statements, oral messages to loved ones, and a final recitation with the vague but haunting note, "To the one who listened when no one else spoke." Those who worked on the recording confirm that Loretta had no intention of making a big deal out of it. For her, it was not a revelation, it was a personal act between two people who had kept their word for so long. the Cash family has not officially responded, but Roseanne Cash, Johnny's daughter, shared a short message on her personal account. Some things, the longer they are held, the more they need to be said quietly. Although it did not mention Loretta by name or contain any specific content, the status was enough for those familiar with the relationship between the two families to know that the message had been received. The story of Loretta Lynn and Johnny Cash didn't start with a statement and didn't end with a medal. It stands as a precious pause in the noisy flow of entertainment, where silence sometimes speaks louder than a chart-topping hit. If you find these silent snippets to be worth pondering, please share this video so the story can continue to spread in the most authentic way. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on more insightful journeys like this.